Hi, welcome to the Everything Sparkle Show. We have a very powerful episode. It's our Mother's Day episode. Mother's Day is on Sunday. Happy Mother's Day. Our mothers have a very hard job and we want to honor them. And what better way to honor them than to talk to the men that are going to tell us how their wives have everything going and the struggles that they are dealing with. We are with Pastor Shawn Beaty. How are you, Shawn?
Hi, I'm doing good. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming in. How long have you been a pastor?
You know, I've been an ordained pastor for 19 years now. Here in the Central Valley for 7.
Where were you at before that?
I grew up and started a church in San Diego, California.
So you left the good weather to come to the heat in the Central Valley?
People always ask, why? What did you do? And only a call from God, but really, in the end, probably one of the best moves I ever made.
Well, we're very happy that you're here.
Hey, I love the people here. I love it here.
So how long have you been at Clovis Hills? Was it all 7 years?
Yeah, it'll be 7 years in July, actually. So coming up 7 years.
And you really like this church a lot.
Oh, I feel like it was made for me. I do. And I love the community, too. The community has been so kind and really rallied around me and my family, especially in the last year. Like, it's almost cemented, like, these are my people kind of deal. You know? These are my people.
So, 7 years, Central Valley. You kind of started the church. Like, it started and then you formed it to what it is today, which is how it's grown. We do a thing where you put in a light bulb every time.
Yeah. So I came, and the church was probably around about 1,000 people, which is a good-sized church, and it was in a big building. But it had plateaued and hadn't grown in a lot of years. And in the last 7 years, we've probably grown 700 or 800 people. And, you know, we're on 43 acres, so there's nothing but opportunity.
Did you come up with the light bulb idea?
You know, it was a brainstorming session with a few of the pastors. We were sitting around a table and...
So can you explain that for our viewers that aren't familiar with Clovis Hills?
Yeah, so what happened is we were trying to find a way for people to kind of mark the moment, like when they heard from God, when they you know, had an experience and received Jesus. And we were just thinking of different ways, and what we did is we built this big light board with 2,500 empty light bulb sockets that says Jesus is life, light, and love. And we just kind of challenged people, like, if you felt that and you prayed and received Christ into your heart, to come get a bulb and screw it in there and mark the day. And when it lights up, it'll always remind you of the day you heard from God. So to this point, we've had 1,700 people come forward and receive Christ or rededicate
their life. That's what I was like wondering. I was like, see all those light bulbs, and I know you kind of helped form the church into what it is now. That's what I had heard that you...
Sure.
Yeah, so the light bulb started. How long has the light bulbs been around?
It's been 3 years.
3 years.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So we're probably gonna fill that one up. I don't know what we're gonna do next when that one's full. We're gonna have to figure it.
We're gonna have to figure out more.
Something clever or get more solar or something. I don't know.
So when did you decide to become a pastor? You're very funny. Was it like comedian or pastor, or how did that?
You know, I actually was in the entertainment industry. I was in a punk band. And we had signed a record deal, and I was touring the country, and ended up turning down a record deal from Atlantic Records.
Wow, what kind of music? Is punk, but was like punk rock, punk ska?
It was punk rock, like surfer, skater, like late '90s kind of, you know, Fat
The
Records.
stoner music. Bad
Religion. Yeah, all of that. I grew up in that. I'm a surfer. I grew up in that kind of culture, skateboarding, all of that.
My.
So, and we did pretty well. We were called Dogwood. And
so you played guitar?
I played guitar and bass in that band. So, yeah. So did that. And after we turned the deal down from Atlantic Records, the guys in the band kind of challenged me. They said, you know, we love having you in the band, but when are you going to be a pastor? Because, like, you know and we know. And that was when that night I was like, you guys are dead on. You're right. So I quit and dove head first.
You didn't think you could do both? I mean, did you contemplate doing both?
I was trying to do both at the time. That's why they said that, and they knew, and I knew, like, that the punk rock thing was great, but they saw, they were like, that's your thing. You're supposed to be doing that, and they were all Christian guys, so they knew their way around church, and they knew, like, you have that. Like anyone can play bass. You have that. Go do that.
Nice. So I grew up with the whole Christian music rock scene, like the Newsboys, DC Talk. What was your band closest to?
MXPX, Supertones. We toured with those bands. We were on the same record label as POD.
Okay.
I don't want to say this. I'm not bragging, but we got them signed to Atlantic Records.
How's that?
The day we turned down Atlantic Records, we had been telling the A&R rep about POD for like a month, and he's like, yeah, whatever. The next day we played a show, and there he was having dinner with them.
No way. I just hung out with them last year. They're great guys. That's so awesome.
They're awesome guys. Yeah, we came up with them through the years down in San Diego, so it was fun.
What a great story.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I dove in. We started a church. It was really hard, but it was a great experience. And then the founding pastor of Clovis Hills recruited me to come up here and take over for him.
And at that point, because what I've heard, because I've only been at Clovis Hills for about a year now, is that you kind of grew it, that it was a lot smaller, and then you came in and then you grew it into what it is today.
Yeah, well, Steve had grown a great church. It actually at one point was one of the top 100 fastest growing churches in the country.
Oh, wow.
And then after the recession hit in 2008, it took a giant hit. And it lost a ton of people, and then...
That's more because people moved away, though.
People moved away, and there was just, some tough stuff that happened along the way there. And he really made a lot of tough decisions to make sure that it would be healthy to hand over to the next pastor. So it has grown a lot since I've been pastor, but I know I stand on his shoulders, if that makes sense. Like, he made a lot of tough decisions and did a lot of hard work so that I could do what I'm doing right now, if that makes sense. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. No, I totally understand that. And so how did it go? They called you when you were in San Diego at your church and said, hey, we need a pastor. What?
Yeah. So he called me, and I knew who he was. He was in the circles I run in, he's well known. And he said, hey, I'd like for you to come think about pastoring or pray about pastoring Clovis Hills. And my first thought was like, wow, what an honor. No way. I was in a church. We were full. We weren't as big as Clovis Hills, but we were full. I lived 4 blocks from the beach. The church was 2 blocks from my house. And it was easy. There was no mortgage. Building was paid off. Like, we were doing great work. And it was just like a great job. Great. All my best friends were there, all of that. So I said no. And then he asked again, and I said no. And then he asked a third time, and I said, well, I'll pray about it. And here was my prayer. God, you don't want me to go to Fresno, right? So he kind of cornered me at a conference and said, hey, I'd like to come down and spend a day with you. Just give me a day, like, to see if this is real, like even anything you would consider. And I said, okay. So he came down. And after the day was over, I have so much respect for him. I said, Steve, I'm going to be honest, I didn't pray about it. I didn't want to. My wife and I don't want to go. But out of respect for you, we really will commit to praying about it. So that night, we prayed about it. We said, God, we don't want to go. If you want us to go, we're going to need some big signs. And even the next day, we started getting huge signs we were supposed to go. I had a guy... One of the elders of my church called me the next day. He's like, hey, I need to add something to the agenda for our meeting Sunday night. I'm like, yeah, what's up? And he said, we need to have a succession plan. I just had a dream last night you're leaving. It was vivid. I don't know where you're going, but this church is not your last stop, and we need to be ready for when it's time for you to go. And I was like, oh, no, I'm moving to Fresno. And I got 3 or 4 more things that we felt were signs from God, so we knew. We just kind of burned the bridges, burned the ships. We sold our house, moved here, and just came in faith, and it's been awesome.
Wow! And how did your kids feel about this?
So my kids were all really little, and they're all turning into teenagers. So when they're little, they didn't know, they didn't care. But now when we go back to visit family, they're like, "Wait, you moved us from here? What were you thinking?" It's pretty funny.
How long have you been married?
I've been married. It'll be 20 years in August. So
how did you guys meet?
Met her at church. So a little secret, and beware, you're a pretty girl. So, I saw her go in church, and I asked who it was, and my friend was like, oh, I'm going to ask her out. And I'm like, no. So I went and sat behind her, because I knew the pastor would say, hey, turn and greet your neighbor.
Wow.
So he did, and boom, I was right there.
Oh my.
I didn't ask her out that moment, but like that was like.
You had it all planned.
Oh, I chose her.
How did she feel about that later when you told her the story?
She thinks it's funny.
What happened with your friend that wanted to ask her out? Where's he now?
Oh, he's married. We're still friends. He's a pastor too, actually.
Does he laugh? You guys laugh about this now?
Yeah. So, but no, it's all good. But that was definitely like, I don't know. I was like, wow, who is that kind of thing. So.
Oh wow! And so, how'd she feel about you? Did she like you right away?
She didn't remember that, to be honest. She didn't remember me, so I wasn't very memorable. But then I was, because I was working for that church. I was a youth pastor.
Okay.
And I was up on stage talking about something, and that's when she noticed me. She was like, "Oh, who's that guy?" So then.
She didn't notice you more in front than when you're sitting behind her.
Yeah, I was a nobody behind her, I guess, right? So yeah, so we dated. After a few months, we kind of became friends, and then we started dating, and we were married about a year and a half later. So I was 25.
Oh, that's so nice. So you guys did this big move to Fresno. Your kids are not teenagers. I know you guys have had some hardships this year. What happened?
Yeah, so in 2018, in September, it was on a Sunday night. We're all having dinner, and Kelly said, "Hey, just letting you know, I'm gonna go to the doctor on Tuesday. It's hard to explain, but like I have trouble finding words. Like I have the word in my brain and I can't speak it." And I was like, "Oh, well, welcome to my life." You know, like that happens to me. I stumble over my words all the time. And I speak for a living, right? She was a first grade teacher, and she's a completely different animal than me. She's very precise and very logical, and I said, "Okay, well, we'll see what it is." So she went to the doctor, and the doctor said, and she's really healthy. You know, she was running 3 to 5 miles every other day, working out the other days, doing yoga, eats like a bird, all that, right? So the doctor said, "Well, you know, I don't know what that is, but we'll order an MRI for you in a couple weeks, and you know, maybe you had a mini stroke or something." So we were like, "Oh, okay." And then the next day, she called me at work. She's a second grade teacher, and she said, "Shawn, something's wrong." And I could tell she could barely talk. And she said, "I need to go to the hospital." So I was like, drove right to her school, picked her up, drove her to the hospital. They ordered emergency MRI, and 30 minutes later, they came back in with the MRI, and the doctor, there's no easy way to say it. He said, "You have a lemon-sized tumor in your brain, and we have to operate on it now." So, we drove down to Fresno Community, and the next day they did an emergency brain surgery with her awake.
Oh my
That's the
God.
crazy part. They did brain surgery, and they woke her up in the middle of the brain surgery because the tumor was on the place where she speaks in her brain, and they didn't want to damage her speech permanently. So they were like questioning her and quizzing her the whole time while he's like taking this tumor out of her brain. So it was cancerous, and it's called glioblastoma. It's a level 4. It's really aggressive. So they took 99% of it out. They say they can't ever get 100% out because it's just wrapped in the brain. And then they give you one big heavy dose of radiation, and it's a year of chemo. And then after that, they have no other treatment. And they say like, well, it's an aggressive cancer. We can't tell you when it's going to come back, but it will, and it'll come back angry. So
do they know for sure it's going to come back?
Yeah. I mean, aside a miracle, they said it will come back. It'll come back angry.
So she's just supposed to go in like every few months and make sure it hasn't grown? Or?
Every 2 months, an MRI, the rest of her life. So, yeah. So we just had one. She was clear, no progression. So that's always good. But you can imagine like the anxiety that builds the week of. You're like, oh, here it comes. Oh, here it comes. You know?
Oh, my. And there was no physical on the outside. There was no lump on her head. It was just
it was nothing.
All internal.
And she wasn't having headaches or seizures or anything. And in many ways, we were so blessed.
Because you caught it.
Well, we caught it, and just the community rallied around us. So I pastor a fairly large church. So the church rallied around us. But then not just the church, like Fresno and Clovis did. Like people we don't even know were bringing us gift cards. People were like, sending us on vacation, like, hey, spend time together, sending stuff to our kids. It's been amazing just how the community has supported us. That's why when I really say, like, no, these are my people. I'm from the Valley now. I used to say, oh, I'm from Southern California, I just live here. But these are my people. I love it.
How was it for you dealing with all that? I mean, because you have such a responsibility to be a pastor, and people are coming to you with every minute to major issue. So when you're thinking about, oh my gosh, my wife's doing this, and someone's like, oh yeah, well, me and my wife are getting along, we might get divorced because of something minute.
Yeah.
How do you feel about it? I mean, how do you, and I know it sounds weird, but I really want to know how you deal with the hardest moment of your life and doing your job and not, making light of their problems and really being attentive to that.
Yeah. I think, one, so we tell our kids this all the time, is that everyone is ridiculously in charge of their attitude. That's the one thing we do have control over in life. Like, we don't know when we're going to die. We don't know a lot of things. We are ridiculously in control of our attitude and how we're going to respond. So one, we've all just decided we're going to be positive. So then the other thing is, I've been through the 12 steps a couple times for codependency. And I've just learned going through that my pain is mine. And yours is yours. And if I compare them, you just kill yourself comparing.
Right.
Pain. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So when someone does have something that's maybe smaller than mine and they're treating it like it's huge, I'm okay with it. Usually what happens is as they're doing it, they realize like, oh, wait, this really isn't a big problem. I'm telling it to this guy. Do you know what I mean? So that's actually been ministering to them, like to help them. And then I talk about attitude, like, hey, what you're going through hurts. You can't take that away, but you're in charge of how you're going to respond to it. You're 100% in charge. And that's helped people a lot, I think, in that process. So, but if you didn't have a good attitude about it and you didn't really believe that concept that your pain is your pain and mine is mine and we can't play the comparison game, yeah, I would for sure be like, would you shut up? You know what I mean? So, yeah, that's a great question, though. I don't think anyone's asked me that one.
I'm sure you've had some bad days, though. How did you just deal? You just prayed a lot every time you had a bad day. When you woke up, you're like, I really don't feel like talking to people today. I mean, did you ever have moments like that?
Yes, I have bad days. I have friends. I have a guy I meet with every Wednesday at 8 a.m., and I talk with him about it. And then there's times where I just call in and go, I'm not coming to work today. I'm going to take a personal day. I'm going to go pray. I'm going to go ride my motorcycle. I'm going to go fish. I'm going to go do something. Or I'm just going to hang out with Kelly. Because like most jobs, everyone has sick days and things like that. So I have those. So I'll just take a day rather than blow up on someone. Although, there's times too where you're stressed out and you don't respond like a pastor should. And we have about 28 staff at Clovis Hills, and my staff have seen me not be the best Christian, and I have to come back and own that and pull them aside and be like, hey, I was really short with you and there's no excuse, so I'm really sorry, can you forgive me? So I have to clean up my mess too, basically. So that's kind of how I deal with it, is because there are bad days. There has to be bad days, or else I'd be faking it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So how's Kelly doing now?
She's doing great right now. She's not working anymore. And
for good, or she's taking time off?
She's on a leave of absence right now, but we think when that ends, she probably won't. We decided we'd homeschool one of our teenage daughters just so she could have more time with her mom, which has been really good. And then she does yoga every day. She works out every day. Like she's on a real strict keto diet. So I do it with her just out of solidarity.
Nice.
And she's really good. Her spirits are really up. I think she feels loved because so many people have really rallied around her. So she's doing great right now. So for those of you who are listening, thank you for praying. Please pray for her. That would be amazing. So yeah, it's good.
You're talking a little bit about speech problems. How is that? Is that something that's just happening right now, or is that going to be like over a lifetime?
The surgeon wasn't sure. He said it could. He goes. One wrong nick and she could never speak again. I'm just letting you know.
Oh.
Yeah. I mean, he was like
Ooh.
brutal with us. He was like, you have X amount of months to live and you could never speak again, and you can't die in this. And he was just they
give you the truth. At
yeah,
least.
and they give you the worst case too,
that,
so you're not like
that's something.
So she could get it all back, but most people don't notice it.
I never noticed. You're the one that told me about it. So
Yeah.
I didn't.
My kids, I do, like her.
Just because you know her really well.
Yeah, family and really close friends can catch it, because she'll if you said speech, she'll say, my speech. She'll just do something like that because she's trying to get whatever that neuron fire is trying to jump the gap, because there's a hole in her brain now where they took the tumor out. Or not, there's not a hole, but there's a lot of swelling and edema and scar tissue from the radiation. So the brain's pretty amazing. Like, the human body's pretty amazing. You're a trainer, like, it has an amazing ability to kind of heal itself. So it could, but the brain typically doesn't fully recover from things like that. So she'll probably have that her whole life. So yeah.
So your children, how old are them?
I have an 11-year-old, a 13-year-old, and a 16-year-old.
Oh, wow. All very close in age. How are they coping, and how did they deal with this when all this happened on the onset?
So it's I'm sure it's very hard on them. We try to one, like, they've heard it so much from us, they roll their eyes like, hey, you're 100% in charge of your attitude. And what we did is we were just real honest with them. We said, look, mom has cancer. She's going to go through chemo and radiation. It could take her. She could be dead by next year, so you need to enjoy the time. She could be here another 10, 15 years.
You really told them like that?
Yeah, we don't know. But the truth is, and I told them this, is I go, we all have an expiration date. We just don't know it. So you need to treat every day with your mom as a gift and really embrace that time. I lost my mom when I was 18 to cancer, so I remember that feeling. I think as a kid, what I did is I just bottled it up and tried to stay busy and not think about it, to be honest. I think each of my kids are unique. Everyone has a unique personality. I think each deal with it differently.
And you've seen them have a pretty good attitude, behavioral problems, or...
They've been great.
Because I can't imagine how I would feel in that. I'm just trying to think about how I would have been at 11.
They've been great.
That's so awesome.
The 16-year-old started driving and took a lot of responsibility on. He's a teenager, I'm sure. He's all testosterone out and gets angry at things, but there's not any there's nothing huge.
There's no mad at the world type of attitude. That's good.
Exactly. And I remember when I told him, he said, well, my life's been pretty perfect. Something bad had to happen eventually. That was his response, which I thought was in some ways wise. He gets it. Because some people will say, why do bad things happen to good people?
Exactly.
No, well, bad things happen to all people. It's the reality. That's the earth we live on. It's how you respond to it in the end. And I love that he took it that way, and he's been pretty positive. My daughter is a sweetheart, so she's she just loves her mom and has got to be closer to her now, and that's been great. And then our 11-year-old is just a goofy tween that he's a really good guitar player. You can find him on YouTube. His name's Shawn Beaty. So anyways.
And you have a podcast as well. I
do. It's called Redefine Defiance. So you can find it on all the podcast things, and it's on a radio station here in town. So I don't know if we plug radio stations here.
Yeah, you totally plug that.
Okay, it's on 1680 KGED. I was on another radio station this morning, and they were like, hey, no plugging other radio stations.
So what I saw yesterday, or 2 days ago, was your live Facebook. Was that for the podcast or the radio station?
So we, the radio show we do is only an hour, or it's only 40 minutes. So we just turned it into 4 10-minute segments of a podcast. So it's the same. So yeah, we just did a live Facebook live cast of one of our podcasts.
Okay, so that was for the podcast and not the radio station.
Yeah.
So what do you talk about when you go on these radio stations and podcasts? What do you...
So so this morning I was on one, and they just wanted to hear like funny stories. Because I never did comedy because, well, I have done comedy. It is brutal. It is hard. There's no way. When you're at church, it's like a home crowd. Like, people laugh more than they would at like a comedy thing. So, but I am fairly funny. So they had me come on and we were telling funny church stories, right? And then the podcast and the radio show is called Redefine Defiance because you know, in the world we live in, like, everyone sees defiance as sex, drugs, and rock and roll.
Right.
But everyone's doing that. So how is that defiant? Right? So I knew early on, like, I was in the punk rock culture, all of that, and everything is a middle finger of the world. And I kind of realized, or I took it that, you know what, following Christ is actually the middle finger now
right.
to the world. And it's actually being rebellious. All my friends are all tatted up and doing drugs and smoking weed and doing all that. And I'm like, no, I'm straight edge. I'm following Jesus. I'm doing that. And it was kind of my rebellion. So I've always kind of loved that term, redefining defiance. So to be honest, we just try and break the mold of what people out there think a pastor is. That he's like the pastor on The Simpsons. Hello, like super boring, and
right.
that we're real people. We have issues. We have opinions. We can be funny. We don't take ourselves serious. So and it's on an AM station, so it's a political station. They're all political talk shows on there, except us. So the one political thing we do is a segment called "At Least We're Not Florida." Because in California, our politics are crazy, but at least we're not Florida. Because anytime Florida's in the news, someone's naked and on crack.
I lived in Florida for a hot second. That's Florida in a nutshell.
We had the one the other day. A lady got pulled over, and she pulled an alligator out of her yoga pants. Boom. So at least we're not Florida.
At least we're not Florida. And yeah, I remember the other day on Easter Sunday, you said we were all drug babies.
Yeah, I said, you know, maybe some of you got drugged to church since you were a baby. You're a drug baby, you know. I never take myself too seriously. I take the gospel very seriously, but I'm just a dude when it comes down to it. So, yeah.
So is it a whole new meaning now when you pray for people that have cancer? I mean, you prayed for my mom who was dealing with cancer, mm-hmm. and she really appreciates that. And then you baptized us, which we really appreciate. Is it a whole new meaning now because of what you've experienced?
Oh my gosh, yeah. So there's just a different level of empathy you have. And like, you just realize just how brave people with cancer are. And my mom died of it, and I kind of knew that. And my dad died later of it when I was in my 30s. So I kind of saw that. But, you know, I remember one Sunday, they were singing a song about the goodness of God, about how good God is. And there's this woman in the third row, and I knew it was terminal, it was pancreatic cancer. She was at stage 4. She was about to go into hospice. Like, I knew her story. And I'm watching this woman sing this song, and I knew her, and I knew that she really believed in the goodness of God in spite of all her circumstances. And there's just a level of bravery there that I don't think people understand until someone really close to you has cancer. And you see them walk through it bravely like that. And someone that knows they're going to die, but knows where they're going to go. They know what's going to happen to them when they die. They're certain of it. And they have a hope. You know, hope is an interesting thing, because if you think of hope this way, like if you and I had the exact same job, let's say Central Valley Talk put us to work, and we had to edit video for 16 hours a day at minimum wage, right? in some tiny room, and we had identical workspaces, right?
Yeah.
And although Mike told you, hey, at the end of the year, I'm going to give you $15 million. But he didn't tell me that. So 2 months into that job, he'd ask me, oh, how's it going? I'd be like, this job is terrible. It's the worst job of my life. It's 16 hours. There's no break. It's hot in here. My eyes are going, you know, I would have, because there's no hope, mm-hmm. right? He'd walk into your office, go, hey, Sparkle, how's it going? You'd be like, it's awesome. It's going great. Why? Because you have something greater to hope for.
Exactly.
And that's the one thing I really want to pass on to people, especially all of us are going to die. But when you have that hope of heaven, you have that hope of eternal life and that certainty that that's where you're going, like it helps you face the hard things that are going to happen, because bad things happen to all people, not good people, if that makes sense.
It does make sense. That's a really good way of putting it.
So yeah, that's been I've been able to empathize so much better, and I heard someone say it once. They said, "Oh, my cancer is a gift," and what they meant was what it taught them made them such a better person. And obviously, I don't have cancer, so but just what I'm going through with my wife, it's made me a better person, and what I've seen it do to her. Like, this is her finest hour as a human. I mean, she's blown my mind away.
So I have a client that I train, and her only son, her only child, had passed away from the same cancer that your wife has.
Oh, man.
And she told me that she's mad at God. She's not talking about, she's angry at God right now. I mean, she
Sure.
has told me that. What would you say to somebody like that?
I would say, I think it's okay to be mad at God. I think God's not bothered by that. I think he understands in the end the depth of pain she's in, and probably has a lot of grace with her in that. Like, I get why you feel that way. That's the sense I would get from God. And but what I would say to her is, I would say the difference is this: is that God, the God of the Bible, Jesus, wants to enter into your pain with you and recycle that pain. Because if you're mad at God and you forsake God and you decide, I don't want anything to do with God, you still have that pain. It doesn't go away.
Right.
But when you invite Christ into your life with the pain, he can recycle that and do so many great things through you with it. And that's the difference, because she is, in the end, and I totally understand, I'd probably be mad at God too if he took one of my children. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
But I would say, one, I would always be patient with someone, give them time, because that psychologists will tell you that's the most traumatic thing that can happen to a person.
Well, I never say anything. I just listen. That's why I was wondering, what would you say to somebody? Because I mean, I've been training her for since January. I've been baptized. So much things have been happening to me. And it's not that I'm reluctant to share them because she doesn't, but I know where she's coming from. I mean, I still tell her I went to church the other day. Yeah, I got back. I still talk about those things, but I'm not, I don't know.
Yeah, I would say, hey, I get why you're mad at God. I think he still loves you, and he's okay with you being mad at him because that hurt.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And just empathize with her, and let God and her sort that one out. Because I don't know if there's a magic thing we could tell them to make it better too, if that makes sense.
Exactly. I don't say anything. I was just wondering how you'd handle that situation. What would Shawn Beaty do?
Well, I've had people come to my office and usually I say, well, I get why you're mad at God,
Yeah.
And I don't think he's mad at you being mad at him. He probably understands why you're mad at him. So.
Thank you so much, Shawn, for coming on this show. I really appreciate it.
Oh, man. I'm stoked. You got to come on Redefine Defiance now.
Yes.
Okay.
I will hope to redefine it, too.
That's right.
I hope to help redefine it.
It'll be a defiant one on there. It'll be awesome. So cool. We'll appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
All right. Bless you. Do I just get up?
With Organic Pastures Raw Milk, you're getting a product that has been meticulously managed from grass to glass. From our pastures to our dairy, creamery, and distribution, we work hard to produce a product that is safe and clean for you.
Got lactose intolerance or dairy allergies? Discover delicious raw milk and discover dairy the way it's supposed to be. We provide tours and would love to see you. Come visit the cows, watch the milking, the cheese being made, and learn all about raw milk. We're just 20 miles south and west of Fresno, California. Call to schedule a tour at 559-846-9732.
The Saga of Bridget and Amanda by Carol Love Forbes brings to life the struggles of historical women in early America. Find the Saga of Bridget and Amanda on Amazon and Barnes & Noble and order your copy today.
You enter this door with expired tags. Beyond is another dimension, a dimension of regulations, a dimension of long waits. You have reached the registration zone. What looks like an ordinary shop is actually Mitchell's Smog, located in the heart of the Tower District, a few minutes from the DMV. Mitchell's Smog offers your vehicle a STAR-certified smog inspection. So remember Mitchell's Smog when you need to pass through the registration zone.
Christy Majors is your local real estate connection. With a solid, hard-working team, traditional listings, short sales, probate listings, and foreclosures are treated in a personal and caring way and closed in a timely fashion. Since 2009, Team Majors has closed more than $75 million worth of homes all over California. Reliable and trustworthy, Christy and her team will go the extra mile for every client, whether selling or buying a home. So give Team Majors a call at 559-464-5606 or visit teammajors.com.
After a tough day at the track, cleaning up can be a time-consuming task. That's why we use Extreme Cleaner, the non-toxic, biodegradable, multi-purpose cleaner and degreaser. Extreme Cleaner cuts through even the toughest of grease and grime. Fast. Great for cleaning tools and work surfaces. Extreme Cleaner. Tough on grime, safe on the environment. Visit extremecleaner.com to find a retailer near you.
When you experience flooding in your home, you need to call Clean Master Emergency Flood Service at 559-213-9430. After soaking in water for only 45 minutes, carpet starts to come apart. Clean Master Emergency Flood Service can help, and not just with carpet repair. They also offer carpet cleaning, upholstery cleaning, carpet installation, and more. Call Clean Master Emergency Flood Service, and they'll be there in 60 minutes. Call 559-213-9430.
CentralValleyTalk.com.
Hi, everybody. We're back with Everything Sparkle. We have with us Michael S. Rodriguez. How are you today?
Oh, I'm doing fabulous.
You are like the ultimate horror film director of Fresno or Central Valley, or
I guess you could say that. That's my forte. I love doing it. I love telling a good scary story, and I'm just gonna stick with that.
How long have you been doing horror movies?
I've been writing and doing horror films for about almost a decade now. I'd say about 9 years going on. Started writing first, and then around 2013 is when I started making films.
So this weekend you have some movies coming out in a short film block. Can you tell us a little bit about some of these movies coming out?
Yeah, I'm pretty excited about that. There's going to be a premiere of Justice for Adam, which you star in. It's a short film, so the director of that, Anthony, decided to make a short film block and showcase, other directors. So I have one that I produced called Reformation, directed by Montgomery Dobson, and then Jack Incarnate, which I directed back in October.
Okay, so what did you have to do with the other movie? You directed Jack Incarnate, and the other one, did you write that one?
No, I just produced it.
You produced it, okay.
I produced it. That's going into an anthology, a sequel to my first film.
Oh,
so
okay.
as well as Jack Incarnate.
And then is Jack Incarnate going to have a sequel as well?
No, it's going to actually be part of an anthology, collection of anthology movies, kind of like Creepshow, or the new one that's coming out, Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. It's like that.
How do you come up with all this scary stuff?
Lots of weed. No, no. You know what? I've just always had a knack. I grew up watching Night Gallery, Twilight Zone with my father, and I just there's something about a good scary story that just it just piques my interest. And I'll sometimes wake up with a dream or an idea, or I'll just be driving somewhere and think about something, and I start jotting things down.
And then you make it come to life.
Yeah.
And then you use some of the same actors and actresses over and over again. Can you tell us a little bit about that and how?
You know what? The other thing is, I think if you find a good rapport, what you always want to do is you want to find people you really can work with, and people that have a kinship to the art. And I kind of gravitate towards people that can do that, and it kind of makes them almost like chameleon-like. So I use a lot of the actors that I'm comfortable with, but I'm always giving them a lot more range to work with. So you watch a movie, I've gone to film festivals where I've shown 2 shorts back to back with the same actor, and they're like, wait a minute, that dude was in that movie?
Wow.
And he was in that, and they're like, I'm like, yeah. And they were just amazed by it, but it was just because the material was different. I felt comfortable with the actor, and the actor trusted me to give him more range. So,
and you have a lot of big plans as far as movies go too. There's a few that you're working on that you're trying to shoot this year, correct?
Yeah, I'm working on Last American Horror Show Volume 2. It's a sequel, it's a follow-up to my first feature film, which I'm casting you in. You're going to be in it. It's about 90% done. I still have to shoot a wraparound segment to wrap up the anthology, all the stories together, and it's about a 10-minute segment, which is you're gonna co-star in that. And I got Mel Novak coming in. He worked with Bruce Lee in Game of Death. Maria Olsen's also in the sequel. Lots of cult actors. Timothy Quill from Army of Darkness. And it's gonna be a really, if you like Last American Horror Show 1, which is out on DVD and everywhere you can get a DVD, you're gonna really love this one.
Yeah, so we had all these plans to talk about this movie, and then it was about 3 weeks ago. It's actually 3 weeks ago to this day.
Yes.
I just finished shooting a very great show with Aaron Albright. And then I look at my Facebook, and I just seriously got chills. I had to text Tina right away. I heard your family was in a tragic car accident.
Yes, 3 weeks ago, my life was pretty much turned upside down. I was actually watching your show. I was at work, and I was watching your show off the clock, so my boss doesn't hear that.
We were.
But I got this call, and it's the call you never want to get anywhere, or especially at work when your guard is down. And I got this call from a stranger that found my daughter's phone in the crash, and I just didn't know what to do at first. This person's all like, I seen your number on here. I think this is your daughter's phone. Your family's been in a horrible accident. And I said, is everyone all right? And they said, just get to the hospital. They're okay.
Oh,
but
my God.
The thing is, you hear okay, but that's what they're supposed to tell you.
And the fact that she's not communicating, your family's not communicating with somebody else. So, why aren't they communicating with me?
Right.
They're okay.
Yeah. So it was just, it was the longest car ride to emergency. So we spent Easter weekend in ICU. I did, with my family. My wife was brought in on a ventilator. They basically told me, they braced me and said she's on life support. And it's the only thing I could tell my mother-in-law and my mom and everybody that was waiting outside. I do want to say that, people from all over the world, Facebook, the community, all the prayer warriors, they came out and they really supported. And I just really believe that's really is what's going on here, and why I'm not, dressed in black and at a funeral, you know what I mean? I really do believe that all those prayers and thoughts just really push this to become a miracle, because now she's up, she's talking. She's going to be released from the hospital in 2 weeks. My kids have made a really good recovery. My daughter had a moderate head injury with bleeding in her brain, and she's fully recovered from that. She's back in school. My son is 8 years old, cracked his sternum. He's healing fine. So a lot has come out of this, a lot. I mean, I probably aged another 40 years, so, but at the same time, we're on the cusp of Mother's Day, and I'm kind of playing the role of both people right now. Usually a team, usually have a teammate to do things.
Right.
And I haven't washed clothes like in 14, 15 years. So like I had to figure all that out again. And then, all the basic bill paying and all that other stuff, So, mothers out there, you guys do an awesome job. And I love you all. Especially my own and my mother-in-law, my grandmother, everybody that's been there for Marla and I. Appreciate that. I'm getting a little emotional. I got to cut that out. So, but yeah, it's been a roller coaster. There was one point where she got pneumonia right after she had like 4 major surgeries. She got pneumonia, and then she was just unresponsive for 3 days. And I really, I was almost starting to lose faith, but she pulled through. Youth is on her side. Positive thoughts and thinking and prayers have helped out, and we're just going to pick up the pieces now and start all over again and keep trucking. If anything has come from this, my family has learned to get closer with one another. My kids that range from 19 to 8 years old, they are looking forward to family time now, not just like let's go to our devices and zone out. So just keep moving forward and look at the positives.
So take us through what happened exactly.
She was on her, it was Easter break for my children. They went out to have brunch and do a few little shopping here and there.
It was Thursday.
It was on Thursday,
okay.
yeah. Yeah, it was during the school break.
Okay, so
spring break.
You went to work and then they were going to go play while Daddy was at work.
Right.
Okay.
And they were heading home and they were hit, they were T-boned by a semi-truck, basically. They were hit in a little tiny Toyota. It was my car, and they were hit by a semi-truck. And there were so many factors involved that really do make this a miracle, if anybody believes in miracles, because the semi-truck had just unloaded his trailer. He was like carrying milk or anything. He had a heavy load that they had just got done unloading, and the CHP and the tow truck driver said it would have been, fatal if that truck would have been fully loaded. And then the fact that, where they landed after the collision, my son's placement in the car was not normally where he normally sits, and that saved him. So there were just so many factors that just kind of, I can't explain it. But.
And what about the driver of the other vehicle?
The other driver was not injured, and I guess he's fine. I haven't really spoken to this person at all. But our insurances have taken care of everything, and they've been really good with us. And so, what can I say?
How is the GoFundMe page coming along?
GoFundMe is halfway to its goal. Some filmmakers actually, and I'm very touched by this. I did not know the page was up. I was in the hospital, was in ICU with my son because he just didn't want me to leave his side. And I looked at my Facebook and I noticed there was this GoFundMe, and I was like, wow, And then all of a sudden I found out that, a few filmmakers, Aaron Albright, Matt Sconce, Giovanna Casanovas, friends of mine that I've worked with and, and collaborated with, got together and did this, and I was very touched. I am still very touched. And it's halfway towards its goal. Well, close to halfway. It's $10,000 goal. To some people, that seems like a lot of money. But right now, as far as I have a completely total car and mountains of.
Oh, I was surprised how low. I was like, I saw 10,000. I was like,
Right.
That's
right.
why I think we need to do this. We need to get this going where we could get it to that.
Yeah, and then we got mountains of hospital bills. I had 3 family members in ICU, and that was the craziest thing because. As a parent, when you see your child hurt or you need to help and you can't, you just feel so restrained. And I had 3 family members all in ICU, and I had to be in one room, and then I had to go to the next room, and it was just horrible. I would not wish that on my worst enemy. It's just terrible.
Both of your children are out now, right?
Yes.
How are they doing?
They're doing okay. It's still rough adapting to a single parent in the household. My wife and I have 2 sons together, and then she helped me raise my older daughters from a previous marriage. So I did the daddy alone thing just for a brief moment before I married my wife. So we're kind of fish out of water right now. So we're learning to do things, and my kids are being a lot more helpful around the house than they normally are.
And they're recovering themselves, though,
yes.
2 of them. So.
Yeah, and that's the thing too. I mean, I'm very fortunate that there's nothing post-traumatic going on, and I'm always open with my children, and I'm always telling them, talk to me, or if you gotta cry, you don't have to be a macho guy about it, So yeah, they're adapting okay. I can't say well because mom's not in the house yet.
And so how often do you go see Marla?
Every day, sometimes twice a day. I practically live there. They're doing my laundry right now.
And how is she with everything? Does she understand everything that's going on? Is she communicating well?
Yes. She early on she was on a ventilator, and when she was awake, she was jotting things down on a notepad. And then after the surgery, she got pneumonia and was unresponsive for 3 days. Then she came back. Miraculously, they called me up. They said, "Hey, your wife's asking for you. She's awake." And I was like, "Holy cow!" So they took the ventilator out last week. She's talking, and the progression. I mean, just the fact that she's just healing so quickly, and she's still eating puree food because she broke her jaw, fractured her jaw, completely demolished her shoulder. They had to rebuild her shoulder. She's like half RoboCop now. So it's like, I better watch out. She backhand me, I go through the wall or something.
That's good. That's what we want from her. Backhand.
That's right.
Get strong again.
Yep.
So, and then your kids, Wyatt had
he had a fractured sternum. Yes, and my daughter Sydney had a moderate head injury with some brain bleeding. And at first I was very concerned because when we were in trauma, she just kept repeating. She wouldn't recognize me as her father. She would just say, "What happened? What happened?" Over and over again.
Oh my.
Yeah, and they pulled me aside and they were like, "Does she have any developmental disorders?" Or and I'm like, "No," And so they did a MRI and they found out she had some bleeding in there, but they did a second one the next morning. They said it stopped. So they gave her some medication. She had to take it like every 12 hours, and then everything just dissolved. And
so now she's
a normal kid and back to school.
Back to school.
Back to school.
Yes,
as of last week.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so they're just on the road to recovery.
Gosh, you're such a mean daddy. You made him go back to school. And so, what is Marla saying? Does she have, do you see her spunk and her personality coming back? Is she like, well, make sure you do this and that? Has she been a little bit like that, or is she still...
she's been like that, yeah, since she was able to jot stuff down.
Oh, okay, cool.
You go and do this. But, yeah, we're gradually becoming that team again, but, she's having to phone it in.
But she still knows. She still knows, hey, this has to be done.
Yes.
She's communicating that with you. That's really good.
Yes. So we're back in that team effort and getting things done. In 2 weeks, I've taken leave from work because she fractured her hips. They had to rebuild her hips, her shoulder. So I'm going to have to take a long time off from work.
And you made your kids go back to school.
I know, huh?
So mean.
So I'm going to have to learn to care for her at home and take care of her until she's completely rehabilitated and able to take care for herself. So.
What's the prognosis on that? Are they saying?
Oh, they are looking at maybe 4 months of me working with her daily just to make sure she's
So right now, all of our problems with her, it's pretty much physical and not.
Right. Yeah.
That's great.
Yes. No major head injuries or anything like that. So
she can walk, right? She just has a hip.
No, they put rods through them. She's gonna have to learn to walk again. Right now, she's just her pelvis has been fractured.
But physically, not mentally, right? It has to coordinate. It's just that once they her legs get strong, she'll be able to do that.
Yeah. I'll put her in your boot camp the minute she's ready.
Oh gosh. Oh my. So what was it like? How long did it take you to get to the hospital when all of this started happening? What was the time frame of just?
You know what? I was probably at the hospital within about 20 minutes. I was out in Kerman. That's where I work at Smith Auto. And I would say it probably took me about 20 minutes, 25 minutes.
And you drove yourself?
No. Luckily, my mother was coming by, and I was kind of just so...
You said, drive me.
Drive me, and we went. But it seemed like it took forever.
Oh,
it seemed like hours, But, I would say about 20 minutes I was there. I got there before they registered them, so they kicked me out. Because I started asking for all these people.
And
they're like, we don't know. Wait 15 minutes outside. So I was pacing outside, not knowing anything. Oh, my God. So, like I said, I've aged another 40 years, so,
So, now you're finally getting to a sense of normal, your new normal for now?
Yes. Yeah, it's different. It's a change. I've had to sideline a few things, as far as production of the sequel. to the film. Not too long. I just pushed back production. But, you know, it's going to give me time to reconnect with everybody and try to build what's been torn apart right now. So.
And you have like the greatest personality ever, what I tell people, because you're just so fun and down to earth. And I mean, one of my thoughts when all this was going on was like, I hope this doesn't like kill his spirit, because he's so awesome. I mean, how do you feel like you're getting back to your own self or whatever? I mean,
yeah, you know what? It doesn't really. I gotta admit that there's times where my mind is just so involved with the insurance, and I'm talking to, you know, all these other people in my ear and adjusters and all this other stuff, and I sometimes think that too. I'm like, well, wait a minute, you know, am I gonna lose my touch? But I don't think I ever will. I am already itching to, like, you know, want to complete, you know, the sequel and keep moving with my career. I know I do have to put it on hold for a little while, but you know what? I have so much coming out that hasn't. I've directed so much stuff that's in post production that I can kind of like lay back and stay a little relevant for a while. You know what I mean? Go to a premiere, go to a few things. I have like 3 films that I've shot already. I got another full feature that's coming out like in about a month or 2. So, you know, I have things going. So I think this is a good time for me to kind of, you know, take it easy for a minute and handle business and then get back to it. But yeah, but as far as filmmaking, I mean, I'm going to do it till I drop. I'm going to drop dead on a set, basically. And I've told people that.
okay, so is there anything, I'm a little bit mad at you because I found out about the car wash after I like our show and everything, because I would have plugged that and told people to come and get their car wash and come support
we
and
needed
volunteer.
you down there in a like bikini, man.
Well,
you know?
tell me when the next one is. That's what I'm saying. Can we plug right now? If there's anything coming up that we need to like start preparing and.
Right now, just the GoFundMe right now. I do have to thank a lot of people that have done smaller fundraisers and different. There was like an enchilada dinner. I shouldn't say small because they did like.
See,
they
I'm
killed
always
it.
the last. I want to know anything that's. I do not want to find out about Facebook. I want to find out about it right here so we can tell everybody watching. Besides that, everyone needs to put at least $5 every viewer, because I know I get them at least 500 by the end of this. If everyone just donates just $5, that'll help us. And then we need to go where and do what.
You know what? Just go to Facebook. If you look me up, Michael S. Rodriguez, or, you know, and I know you share it quite a bit, you'll find the GoFundMe. You can drop a donation there. As far as anything organized at the moment, I think they're talking about another car wash. I'm not 100% sure
I will
yet,
come in a bikini.
but-
Someone needs to tell me.
Boom. Okay. See,
That'll be
then
the
we gotta
plug,
have
yes.
one. Then we have to have another one now, just for that.
Not after the enchilada dinner. Let me come in the bikini and then we can have enchilada dinner. Okay.
That's right. There you, yeah. Working
Then
appetite
I'll
up.
earn my enchilada dinner.
Right.
Oh my. Okay, so we have some clips for your movies.
Yeah, let's take a look at those.
Let's take a look. Do we got anything revved up, Michael? Michael.
Tonight, I wanted to scare the pants off of you.
You are one sick and twisted individual, Michael.
That was a wild ride. That was a 3.5-year journey for me to make that movie. That was my first movie. I'll plug it. I got the DVD here. I'm gifting you this DVD sparkle right here. This is Last American Horror Show, the
Great,
first
so
one.
I can have nightmares.
Yeah, exactly. You can get this at Barnes & Nobles, Target, Walmart. You can even illegally download it. You better stop doing that, you bastard scoundrel.
We need the money from this now. I mean,
That's
so
right.
come on, guys.
So, but yeah, working on the sequel. The sequel's going to come out. She's going to co-star in it, so you're going to be seeing her in that. I can't say very soon, but we will get it going.
This is really exciting. So this is the one that's going to be this weekend. Which one are we seeing this weekend?
We're going to watch Jack Incarnate, which is actually, and Reformation is actually a segment that's going, that's being put into the anthology for the sequel
For this one,
Volume
okay.
2. Yeah.
So that's what we have. The clip that we have, right? The only clip that.
The next clip we're showing, I
Okay.
believe, is Lake of Shadows. It's my feature film.
Are we gonna see this too, right?
Yeah. We're gonna. Oh no.
On Saturday? No, we're not seeing this.
We're gonna premiere that in the Tower Theater. I'll get you a VIP.
Oh, you save the best for like not in my little movie blog. Thanks, Michael. I see how.
Do you feel like it should be closed?
Death has shrouded, haunted, poisoned, and plagued this lake for over half a century. And you know what? These fools just keep coming back.
The truth is, people come down, they party too hard, they get drunk, they get wasted, and guess what? Some of them, they have an accident and they have their last drink.
Are you insane?
You want to be the next fucking corpse in the water? Hey, no.
Something's wrong! Something's in the water! Something's in the water!
Ready, get down! Come on, let go! God damn it, lady, look what you did! I told you!
Are you trying to exploit my grief for a monster movie?
No.
Is that what's going on? I'm done.
No,
I'm fucking done. I really am. You have to leave.
Nice. So when's this one's gonna be at Tower Theater?
Yeah, we're looking probably late June for the premiere at the
Great,
Tower
okay.
Theater. I'll get you in, of course. We'll do a little red carpet. We'll probably have some of the stars from the film because I worked with. I mean, there were so many over the years of working and doing short films and everything. I've worked with lots of like cult actors and scream queens. So like this movie is filled with them. And our lead actor is Robert Lasardo, who just starred in Clint Eastwood's The Mule. He's famous for Death Race, Human Centipede 3, and he was a reoccurring character on CSI Miami. He's easily recognizable. He's got like tattoos like all over his body.
Nice.
But really good guy. It was great working with him. It's a wonderful opportunity to work with him and learn from him. And it's gonna be a good movie. And it's based on like actual events. I mean, this movie is based on an actual lake here in the valley that's claimed like 150 plus lives.
I've heard.
Yeah. So, there's a bit of truth mixed in with a little fiction, a little found footage style. So you kind of got a mixture. I've kind of showed a little bit more range with this film.
Wow. Now that's a disclaimer. When people go there, they're you're putting fear in all of us, Michael.
And people are still going there in droves. We were shooting. We shot the ending there, and we were 3 days in that water. And I was rigged with a camera. I was the second camera operator, and I never want to go back in that water again. That water is scary. It's there's 150 bodies pulled out of that water, and there's no runoff. It's just a man-made lake, a hole in the ground, and it's not super deep. So like, there's all these theories from giant catfish to like this weird vegetation that wraps around your legs. So I've heard all these stories, and they're all in this movie.
I still want to figure out if that was a wine bottle or if that was blood. That's what I've been thinking about the whole time. So everyone needs to come out this weekend to our film block on Saturday at 4:30 p.m. at the Peters Building, right outside of Save Mart Center. And after that, then we'll see if there's any other functions where we're going to pull together to donate some money.
Right, yeah. We'll get some other stuff together. So just check out our social media on Instagram. I'm MSR Studios 1, and Michael S. Rodriguez on Facebook. Just look me up, and I'm sure we'll drop something as soon as something's organized. This is top shelf vodka, by the way.
Yes, and then let me know if I need to come in a bikini. Last time it was on Sunday. I was volunteering at church, by the way, but that was my pastor. I'm gonna tell him next time, hey, I can't go to church today. I have to be in a bikini on wherever we're doing this for a good cause.
And and speaking of my wife Marla, she's such a good person and has a really good personality. I think that's why we click so well. But it was funny because when I first started working with her, she goes, Sparkle, who's this Sparkle person? Because she seen me tagging Sparkle, and she goes, who's this girl you're working with now? And then she looks and she goes, oh, she's pretty hot. So, but that's her. That's
nice.
That's
well, I'm gonna wear a bikini for her. So hey,
she's gonna wear a bikini for Marla. Okay.
Yes.
Marla strong.
We should have a Lake of Shadows. Can you make me a Lake of Shadows bikini? I'll plug both.
I'm sure we can do that.
Let's the Lake of, and then the Shadows on the others.
Shadows. Yeah, we can do that.
Oh my gosh. Well, happy Mother's Day to all you mothers. Thank you so much, Michael, for coming on.
Thank you for having me. Happy Mother's Day.